If you're getting on your sales calls and you're tired of people going, I need to think about it, I need to talk to my wife, let me check my finances, then this video is going to break down exactly how our 30K a month fitness coaches handle their objections so well that they have 50% close rates. I'm going to walk you through how we prevent objections before they even happen and what to say when they do happen so you don't have to feel pushy or awkward. Keep in mind that this is the same training that I've given to all the fitness coaches that I'm working with now that are making over 30K a month, and I've since revamped our sales school, so this training was meant for them, but I'm repurposing it for YouTube. So go ahead and watch the video and let me know what you think, and let's get into it. All right, boys, let's get into it. You already know we're going to talk about objection handling today. So going over the review of everything that we just went over in the sales is that you need to be aware of what you're selling. We are selling transformations and confidence, so that is why we're able to charge such high ticket. And so when you get into it and you start dealing with objections, I want you guys to be really comfortable, all right? Like, think about the sales guys that you get on with and they handle objections or they take sales calls like a really, really similar way. And even if you are really, really good, like obviously that there's time and place for that, but a lot of people have their guard up whenever they start to notice little like textbook sales tactics. So the thing that you can do to stand out is do something that I heard that's called a pattern interrupt. So some of the most successful guys in the game, they come across like they're not sales guys. So the way that you do that is instead of pressuring someone, you know, like hot and cold pressure and all these different sales tactics, you just want to be like totally natural. And so something that will help you do that is that you just need to be aware of what you're selling. And so other than that, when you start your sales call, make sure that you are super prepared. Like go through all the chats, go through any type of information that you have on them, and really gain a personal edge over the conversation that you're about to have. So I like to think about it like a nurse goes into a doctor's office, asks the patient all of these questions, right? Is like that's the whole point of sometimes when you have an appointment setter or when you are in the DMs, you're able to create this conversation where you're super interested in them, you're fact finding, and you're getting all this key data so that when you get on the call, you can start the conversation like halfway through. You can start to double check if you're correct and all these things, and you can be like, so, you know, I know you were saying that you were dealing with this, is that true? And then be like, wow, yeah, like you already know, bro. You already know their issue. You already know their goal. So that's why you want to be in a really deep state of communication with your prospect so that they are being really open with you in the DMs and especially on your call. And then getting into it, you need to make sure, right, is that if you have a good sales call, you shouldn't be really getting many objections. Like it should be like ready to rock and roll. Especially because you guys are talking about fitness and transformations and stuff like that. But, you know, the reality is that most of the time that you will get an objection no matter what, because people are afraid. They don't have the money. They need to talk to their partner. They don't want to be disappointed, or they don't want to disappoint the people around them. And a lot of people are really like just careful of how they invest their money. And so I think the main thing that you need to remember is that if you are getting an objection, you best not have it be a value objection. A value objection is when someone is questioning whether what you're offering is actually going to get them to that spot that they want to get into. So you need to make sure that you ask, I'll get into it, but one of the things that you ask, right, is that you just want to make sure that they actually believe that they can achieve what they were looking to achieve using your coaching. So I want you to go through this entire doc. It's pretty large. It's around 20 pages. A lot of them are written scripts for several scenarios, but I really want you to go through this, actually be in a place where you can absorb and take away something, because sales isn't something that you can learn overnight. But what's really going to help you is that you are natural and that you get into it like anything else, you know? Like imagine you're calling your friend, you're trying to tell them about this new thing that you found, and just be excited about it. Like people really buy into belief and excitement and emotion. So if you can come in with a lot of good energy and make them feel like you really know what they're dealing with or where they want to go, and you make them believe that you can take them there, then I don't believe that you're going to have a lot of objections. But again, they happen, and we want to be able to be confident so that we don't be getting off calls with selling few $100 training plans or with no commitment at all. Like that is going to be the worst thing, is that if you hop on several sales calls and people are not closing on anything, then it is going to be like just a really big stab to your confidence and as well as your business, because you're not going to be making cash flow. So all of these scripts, I want you to take them with a grain of salt and understand that the principle here is for you to prepare, right? Is like you want to be able to memorize analogies and mindset reframes so that you can go in confident, and then when you reach the end of your sales call, you can make your pitch exactly the way that I've told you already. So that way, to remind you right now, is that you really build the vision up, right? You could ask something like, why, before you get into the pitch, you can ask, why would you want to hire me specifically as a coach? This is going to get them to gas you up. So then after that, you can say, I'm so happy you said all that about me. I'm so happy you said that because I've been thinking of the exact plan for you, of exactly how we're going to get to X goal. Is it all right if I share it with you? And then you make the offer, very specific to them, because you've been listening to all their problems and goals and stuff like that. And so then you just tell them, right, of how you're going to achieve that goal for them. And then you're going to tell them the time frame, I think, is going to be around 3 months to achieve this transformation. And that 3 months, it's going to be 1,500. And then you don't say anything. Let them speak. This is a really, really important part of the call. And so then whatever comes after this is, now this is what closing is. This is what dealing with objections are. And then before any of this happens, you want to be able to think about any objection that they might have and pre-handle it by asking questions that prompt them to admit certain things. For example, a partner objection can be avoided by asking if they are the ones that make the decisions in their life, if they are the only ones that need to be on this call in order to make a decision today. And then time objections can be handled by asking them where they spend their most time. If they keep telling you, right, that this is something that they've been trying to achieve for a long, long time, but they just can't seem to find the time, then you can help them through it. And so all objection handling is really just putting into perspective what they're saying, addressing and calling them out if it's about fear, and basically telling them, right, it's just like you're here for them. Like you're not tripping if they don't sign up for your coaching, but you want to be able to put them first, put them on the pedestal and show them that you're actually trying to like figure something out for them, because there's a reason why they're on the call, right? So always try to take a step back. Don't try to be a sales guy, and handle objections like a pro by being somebody who actually is like empathetic. Because if you understand someone's situation, they're going to feel that, and they're definitely going to want to sign up with you. So under the scripts, right, I need to think about it. You can use the scripts that you see in certain topics, like I need to think about it, partner, money, time, and fear. You can use them interchangeably, because even though we're talking about certain things, like I'm going to go over them, is that these scripts are just meant to shift perspective. Whenever somebody has an objection, there's usually one of four things has happened. Let me see if I can find this. Right. They don't believe you, or they don't trust you. They're afraid of making a decision, any decision, or they're afraid of making the wrong decision. They don't see what you're offering is valuable enough, that is the worst one. Like if that's true, you're cooked. Like there's no amount of objection handling that can overcome that. Or they actually mean their objection. For example, if somebody needs to talk to their partner, they might really have to speak with their partner, or else they're going to get whooped. But just to go through this more, I want you to please read this entire document through after you're done watching this video, and most importantly, prepare yourself for the next time you get an objection, which will be a lot of the time. And understand that you lost if you get off the call without any sort of commitment to you. These scripts can build off of each other, and so I don't want you to feel like if you used one, then the call is over and you get off with no commitment. Like keep the ball rolling until it gets to a point where you've tried everything. Because the main thing that I want you guys to do is that when you get on a call and somebody has an objection, somebody has like whatever the objection is, agree with them and tell them that you understand where they're coming from. Then start to frame like you're about to get off the call by setting up another time to talk. This is going to completely make them feel like, okay, sick, like it's over. Like I'm not going to be sold to anymore, it's over. But then you say, before you go, just so I can get a better understanding of where your head is at, what is it that you need to think about, right? And now you're right back in it. You're right back into the conversation that you're having, and it is going to be another flow. And this is how you handle objections and how you actually close, is that you frame like you're about to get off the call, but you keep going. And it's for their own benefit, right? They actually hopped on a call for a reason. So too many sales guys run a poor discovery, and they leave themselves a lot of work to do at the end of the call, where you're going to be fighting an uphill battle. That being said, we welcome objections because this is what it takes to close high-ticket deals. If it was easy, everyone would be rich, but the ones who master it are the ones who actually make it. And so this is a really skilled game of chess. You need to be 10 steps ahead, and the number one rule for that is preparation. So you need to know where this person is going at all times. You need to think about and know what they're insecure about, what they're worried about, and what they're actually trying to avoid in terms of like disappointing someone or not being able to afford something. So just get real and deep really, really quick with these guys. And then if somebody says, right, I don't know if I'm ready to commit to this, you might think because you're not experienced in sales, or maybe because you take everything for face value, but you need to learn how to read between the lines, because it has nothing to do with them not being ready to commit. Like, they have the problem. They have the problem that needs to be solved. So it means that they genuinely don't feel like they're going to get the results that you're talking about. That's what that means. I don't know if I'm ready to commit. And so whenever you're talking, read the body language when you say something. If you ask them how their, personal perception of their confidence, and they hesitate or look down, like, that means that they don't like it. Or if you ask, right, it's like, how much are they making? And look down, like, whatever they say, just call it out and be like, yo, I didn't mean for that to sway you some way. Is everything all right? This allows you to build rapport and allows you to show that you're a real person and you're just being empathetic, and it allows you to get to the real objection. So going to the framework that I use is diffuse, isolate, overcome, and then ask. And so going into depth about that is that when you diffuse, this is just a habit that I have, is no problem, I understand, right? Yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah, I 100% get where you're coming from. And then pause whenever you say one of those things. Then you want to isolate the objection by finding out if that's the real objection. If you're not sure about if their objection is just like a surface level one, then say something like, and when you say that you need to think about it, what do you mean by that exactly? Because then they're going to get into what it is that they're thinking about. Or it's like, when you say that you need to talk to your wife, like, what do you mean by that exactly? I know that it's like a complete, like, it is what it is, right? They need to talk to their wife. And so the last thing that you want is like, oh, what do you mean? I just said I need to talk to my wife. But then even if that happens, you can't be phased. You have to stand your ground, be confident, and just, don't be phased by anything like that. Someone's pressing you, right? But you don't want to be fighting with them on the call anyway. Okay, so then after you ask them to explain, and then you can say something like, can I ask, in your opinion, do you genuinely believe that what I walked you through today can get you to whatever they said their goal was? Because that's the most important part. This is the clearance that what led them through, that they actually find it valuable. Because if they say yes, right, then you can say, okay, why do you feel like it can? This makes them say in their own words, it defends what your offer is, and shows them, like, makes them say why they should start it, is you asking why it feel like it can get them to their goal, because they just said that it can. So then, if we were to overcome that objection, would there be anything else preventing you from moving forward today? Or is it just this? And if it's just that, then you know that this is most likely what you need to tackle. So then you need to overcome that objection. And the way you overcome that is by working with them, by trying to make a plan with them, or shaping some perspective. We're going to get into like some scripts. But then after you've overcome that objection, the best ways to ask, right, is, so Perfect, let's get started. Do you want to go with are you able to do the 3-month plan in full, or do you need to break it up? Or do you want to use a credit card, or were you planning on using a debit card? Would it be a bad idea to get started right now? Is another way to simply ask that question. All right, I need to think about it. This is the first one we're going to go over. You need to understand that this isn't a real objection. This is going to come in many variations with, do I need to make a decision today? I need to pray about it. I need to look over some things first. Can you send me an email with all the information? It's all bullshit. It's a smokescreen, meaning the prospect doesn't want to reveal what they're actually thinking about. Whatever their main concern is, whether it be their partner or money, or maybe they're just actually afraid to make any decision. So instead they say they need to think about it. So from the get-go, you need to clear up if they see the value in what you're offering. Because like I said, if you get a value objection here, you're absolutely cooked. You flunked the call, and it's very hard to come back from that. Practically impossible. Because they don't believe that what you're talking about is actually going to get them there. Okay, sweet. I need to think about it. So, option 1. Yeah, diffuse, right? Yeah, sure, that's not a problem. What's your time frame from getting back to me today or tomorrow, just so I can be available for you? They say something like, oh, I'll just call you. You have to stand your ground and say, well, I'm not sure if I'll just randomly be available like that. So if you have your calendar handy, I can pull up mine, and then we can just book in a time so you don't have to chase me down, vice versa. Then book in the call. Actually go through with the entire thing. Book in the call. So now before I go, what were you wanting to go over, just so I can get clear on the questions you might have when we talk tomorrow? And then you just jump right back into it. Because now they're going to tell you, right, as long as you actually built all that trust and rapport and actually had a good sales call, what their real objection is. And then you can overcome it with them and close them on that call. Option 2 is, all good, not here to push you into a decision you don't want to make. With that being said, we've sat on this call for about an hour talking about exactly why this is something you want to do. So what has you hesitating now? Remember, this will only work if you've pre-handled a lot in the discovery, and this will give you, if you pre-handle a lot, then this is what's going to give you the leverage in this situation. And don't be afraid to run the call a little bit longer if it means getting the leverage later on in the call, like in this moment. So if you can understand, pay attention to my tonality sometimes when I'm speaking. It's very important. Is all good, not here to push you into making a decision you don't want to make. With that being said, and now that was a tone, right? So we've sat on this call for about an hour, and I'm making it very clear that I'm even saying well, we've kind of been here for a while, so what has you hesitating now? So then the third option is, there's no pressure on you to do anything. If you don't want to do this, it's completely fine. You already think this is a good fit for you, right? So if you already have the discipline to see success from this, what was it that you wanted to go over in your own head just so that I can get a better idea? They say something like, I get nervous to make big purchases. You say, that kind of decision making is why we're on this call right now. I get it. So let's just say in a month's time, what's your worst case scenario? Let them answer. You're going to say your worst case scenario is being exactly where you are right now, except now you have all of the things that I've taught you to be able to get to where I am at today, and how I know I'm going to be able to get you to your goal. And then just let them speak. Then you say, okay, what's your best case scenario a month's time from now? Let them answer. Then you're going to say, who's in control of whether you go down that worst case scenario or that best case scenario? They're going to say, me. And you're going to go, exactly. Believe me, bro, I get it. It's a big decision, and it's not easy. And then you drop perspective. It's not meant to be easy, though. Like you said, the more and more you push it off, the harder it gets. So whether you decide to do this today, whether you decide to do this tomorrow, next month, it never gets easier. So what would you like to do from here? They should be primed to make some sort of deal, because you've put this perspective into their brains. And if you haven't closed many deals, then you might be like, oh, that would never work. But it works. Believe me. So make sure that you close on something. This is why I'm going to go over how to leverage financing right after this video, because you're either going to get it paid in full, you're going to put them on a payment plan, or at the very least collect a deposit to be able to cover it on a later date. All right, let's get into the partner objection. So the variations of this are: I make all my decisions with my partner. My partner handles our finances, so I can't decide alone. Or I want to get my partner's opinion. This is just a fancier I need to think about it. Okay, so in this script, I didn't put the diffuse, but obviously before you talk to them, right? If somebody says, I need to talk to my partner, you say like, totally, bro, I totally get it. Have a wife myself. I totally understand where you're coming from. So before you talk to them, do you feel like this is something that can get you to where you want to go? This is to make sure that you isolate the objection and make sure that they actually see the value. Because you never know, right? You should start to understand how to smell bullshit, but when people start to talk to you and you actually are super genuine with them, they don't really have a reason to bullshit with you. They actually have the problem. They see that you can solve it. But this is to make sure that they actually see the value in what you're talking about. Because we can put all the fanciest objection handling, mindset reframes, analogies, but if they don't see the value, then you're cooked. Okay? So then after they tell you, right, that yes, I see that this is something that it can take me to where I want to go, then you ask them why. Why though? This gets them to defend it and guides them along the sales call. And then you can start asking, right, are they aware of the problems that you've been mentioning to me? How do they feel about you getting to this goal? Or how do they feel about you struggling in the thing that you're struggling with? And then you start getting into, okay, so when you guys go and talk later, what do you think that you're wanting to go over in your mind, just to see if I can help? And so if they start getting into that they make all of their decisions with their partner, then you're going to want to get into a responsibility frame. So this is basically getting them to admit that they're responsible for their own results. So you ask them, who's responsible? In regards to the results that you had over the last 5 years, was that on you or was that with your wife? And it's on them, right? So since your wife hasn't been involved in the results, the blood, sweat, and the tears, all these wins and losses, that all has been you. And you basically just a couple times get them to say that, yeah, it is me. Because then afterwards, you're going to be able to eliminate that partner objection. And then you can decide on whether to take, with the partner objection specifically, you can decide to take like a more, you're the man of the house, aren't you, right? Like people look up to you, not the other way around. And it's just like, isn't this what you were talking about, that you wanted to be that guy that provided, you wanted to be the person that like everybody can look up to, and whatever they had said, whatever their goal was, you basically put that on the pedestal and say like, you were the only one that is going to lead your family to success, and you're only going to get that if you achieve this thing. But a partner objection can fall into two different sides, whether it's a smokescreen or whether it's a logistical one. So a smokescreen is when the prospect has a real objection and they're just saying they need to talk to their partner, similar to I need to think about it, just to get you off. But a logistical is that they actually need to talk to their wife. But in order, how to handle the smokescreen is same thing, right? This whole time we've been talking about diffuse. Yeah, totally understand where you're coming from. Isolate. So before you go talk to your partner, do you feel like what we went over can get to your goals? Because that's the most important part. This allows you to make sure that they actually see the value in what you're offering, and then also making sure that you are isolating that is the actual objection that they're trying to get into. So as long as they see the value, then you say, okay, cool. Why do you feel like it can get you to your goal? Then they're going to gas up the kind of like dream of them actually achieving it and the belief that they have in you. And so then you overcome. Okay, cool. When you go to your partner spouse, do you feel like she would want you to solve all these problems and for you to get to these goals so that you can, and then insert whatever words that they've used that's an emotional driver for getting them to their goals. What they're talking, right, specifically about like how they want to fit into their high school jeans. It's like a really generic thing, but then you ask, right? It's like, how do you feel? And so then you start asking, what would be if their partner was going through this, what do they feel that would be the potential obstacles that may have stopped their partner from doing something similar to this? And then after they talk about that, so you say, okay, cool. So would it be fair to say that it's not necessarily an issue with talking with your partner, but more of an issue with this objection itself? Would that be fair to say? Then after you've isolated that, you've overcome, making sure that it is that partner and whatever it is, right, that you've overcome that. And so then you can drop a bit of perspective. You can say, I mean, in your opinion, which is more risky? Is it more risky for you to invest in yourself, actually get the results, and then tell your partner about it later? In worst case scenario, I just refund you if she doesn't want you to do it. Or is it more risky for you to go to your partner, they end up saying no, this problem stays the same, and you keep staying the same every month, nothing ever changes, and it's just going to be over and over again, right? I mean, in reality, which is more risky? If they say they will do it, then go for the close. You can say, great, okay, so what do you feel like you need to do right now on this call to put yourself in the best possible position to achieve this goal? This is an example of what you could use as anywhere. This ask is great. So what do you feel like you need to do right now on this call to put yourself in the best possible position to achieve this goal? It's a great way to ask for a close. Then collect the payment. So this is actually a good flow I wanted to get into, right? We talked about the responsibility frame. So after we say, so your wife hasn't been involved in these results, so that's not being said that she can't lend an ear on things or that she doesn't support us, but in the same regard, she doesn't fully know like you and I do. She's never been responsible for the results that we're talking about. And I would also say, just like, wouldn't you want to like show her that it's possible for you so that you can show her? Because the other side of this is that when you are achieving this goal in 3 months, how do you think your wife would feel? She would be over the moon that you are happy with the way that you look and that you're being the confident man that she wants you to be. And you have actually achieved what you said that you would do. But again, whose responsibility is that? So if that's the case, and you know that this is on you and no one else, what is the decision that a man that's serious about his future does right here, right now, so he can provide for his family like he always wanted to do? And it's probably not go ask your wife. So then if they logistically can't, they have to speak to their wife, then just collect a refundable deposit. So this is going to be like making sure that they actually show up to the follow-up call, and then it's going to give you ammo that you know that they're going to try to sell their partner on it because they've already invested a little bit. It's like psychological. Then you book a meeting with his wife within 3 days max, preferably in the next 24 hours. And so this is the way that you do it. Okay, cool. So if you're 100% on board, you just need to make sure that your wife is cool with it. What we need to do is we need to put down this deposit to lock in your spot and making sure that you're committed. It's totally refundable. If your partner says no, I'll just send it back. I'm not a dick. But then what we'll do is we'll find a time to connect tomorrow, and then we're just going to go over this with your partner and make sure that it's a good decision. This will give you enough time to think about it. Does that work for you? If you get resistance about making a deposit, you say, if you're not able to leave a risk-free and refundable deposit to show a little bit of minor commitment, then I can't expect you to not only actually make the full investment into yourself, but more importantly, actually be coached. Because this refund is, or this deposit is 100% risk-free, right? Then you say, okay, great, what card do you want to use? So then you find time and date, and then you get their email, their partner's email, and you send them over the invite, and then you double check, right? The last thing you say is, what do you feel that your partner would want to know to feel good about this? Okay, great. So after this call, I'll send over the recording of this call, which you should have set up. We'll show you how to do that, how to automatically start your call recordings. And then, yeah, just see you on that date. If you can't get a deposit, just basically book a call. Book a call in and somehow try to get a little bit of commitment from them that you actually know that they're going to show up. Okay. So then the money objection. I always just by heart go and try to tackle the money first because it's usually the problem. Like, no matter what it is, it's usually the problem is the money. So I want you guys to not disqualify the prospects too early because 1.5K and 2.5K is not that much money. Like, it might be a lot of money for you. It is still a lot of money, but it's the perspective, right? It's like if you're charging that, you should believe that what you have is more worth than 1.5K, that you should believe your coaching is worth 5K, so that when you speak about it, you're super confident about it, and you know that in your heart, it's worth a lot more. So all this money, it's sourceable if their pain is deep enough or their goal is positioned high enough. People have parents, investments, credit. Believe me, it can be found if you had a good enough call. And I want to ask again one more time, because people have like this limiting belief that they can't collect that money, is that what would you say that a newfound confidence in a transformation is worth? You literally can't put a price on it. So with that being said, you have all these financing options at your fingertips. And if you ever feel like you're charging too much, your prospect will as well. However you buy things is the way that your prospect will buy things. So you need to be sold in your own head. And then getting into the first script is after you say like, okay, 100% I get you, right? This is probably right after you made your offer. So can I ask, if money wasn't part of the equation, would you do it? They probably would. Why would you do it though? This is always, right? It's like, why would you do it? Or would you do it? Like, do you see the value in it? Why would you do it? If they start getting into the features and the benefits of the program, just be like, okay, cool, awesome, I get that. But why? Why would you do it? And make sure that you get the why. So now that we know that money being the only thing stopping us, what's the real reason we're on this call? Make sure you remind them, right, in their own words. So now I can help you with the investment, but I can't help you with the commitment to want to get better. So is this something that you're committed to? They're going to say, of course. And you're like, okay, but why now? Why can't we just push it down the road? So now you're basically telling them, reminding them what the thing is that they're on the call for. They've already said why they would do it. They said that they believed it. And so now they're telling you why they have to do it now. But you're asking, right, instead of telling them. And so then you just be real with me. Is it that we have the full investment and it's just scary? Or is it that we need a payment plan? Okay, so you really shouldn't be getting a time objection, because this would only come up if, like, realistically, right, probability is like, it's so much more, I need to think about it, I need to speak to my partner, which is like the same thing, and then the money. So, but if you're getting a time objection, it is what it is. You just want to make them realize that it's their priority. Like, it's a good chance that if they're using this objection is that they've been telling people this like their whole life. Is like, they don't have, I wish I could do that, I could just never find the time. So you can either be the coach that gets on with them and fails them by letting them get off the call with no commitment to your coaching, especially if they have a time objection. Or you can be the coach that absolutely changes their life and sets them up for success. So this is how the script goes. Has there ever been a perfect time to starting something big? Like a moment where everything lined up, there was no distractions, it was just free time to go all in? Probably not, right? They're going to let them respond, like include them in the conversation. So the truth is that you're never going to have more time. And the guys who get to that goal, say whatever goal they're talking about, didn't wait for the right moment. They made it the right moment. So the real question is, are you the kind of guy who just lets life happen to you? Or do you want to start making things happen for you? And so if we allow time to prevent us from getting to where we want to go, where does that leave us? Ask him. So a year, and then whatever they say is like, a year from now, where do you see yourself? All right, help them. Same problems, same body, same frustrations. So let's be real. Is that a life that you want to settle for? And be like, no. I'm like, why not? And you kind of start to like, you notice how sales is like a therapy session. Like you're basically asking these questions, guiding them along a conversation. And so let's just be straight. Are you actually committed to doing everything that it takes to get this goal? Or does it just sound nice? Because if you're serious, that means showing up like someone who already has that goal, starting now. And if you're not serious, that's fine. Just own it. Do you know how tough that is on a guy when you say something like that? And so there's always going to be that guy who waits for Monday to start the diet. But who do you think gets there first? The guy who bets on himself or the one who gives in to his limitations? So what would that guy who has that goal do right here, right now to get to where he wants? And this is like the end, right? This is like, so what are you going to do? After that being said, after that perspective drop, what are you going to do? So fear. Okay, this is the last one. Is once we've isolated all of the other objections, that we've actually figured out that it's not the time, it's not the money, it's not the spouse, it's not thinking about it. Everything makes sense for this person to move forward, but for some reason they just won't. So the general fear framework is, what are you afraid of? let's play it out. Like, how does it actually happen? Walk me through it. Worst case, best case, and then make the ask. So let me just read the scripts real quick. Okay, so fear, right, is like why I said all, like I kind of tied all of the other objections and I put fear last, is because fear is a combination of all the objections. It's one of the easiest to deal with because of how straightforward you can be with it, but it's also one of the hardest because if you haven't developed this connection with this person, then they're going to stay afraid. You're not going to be able to shift their mindset around it, because fear is like, it's a very, very tough thing to overcome if you don't have influence over this person. So first script is, I get that, man. At the end of the day, we all make choices based on how we see things, right? So this is a great way to get into an entry into handling the fear. The real challenge is making decisions based on where we want to be, not just where we are right now. Because if we only act based on where we are, we're just going to stay stuck there. So this is already like putting into their brain that the mindset is so important. And then you ask, would you say your mindset affects how you make your decisions? They're going to say yes. On a scale from 1 to 10, how satisfied are you right now with your progress and overall results? And then whatever they say, okay, in your mind, what does a 10 look like? So what you've done so far is you've put into their mind that they need to start thinking about whether, like, they need to start thinking about this like they've already achieved it. Because if they're thinking about it now here, it's a low point. And so how much longer do you want that same mindset that's kept you at 6 out of 10? And what happens if you keep letting that mindset run the show? And then you say, so what's the bigger risk? Sticking with the same thing that's kept you here for who knows how long? Or actually starting to work towards your goal? Right? And then you say, no one's going to force you, man. No one's going to make you step into the best version of yourself. And so I just want to ask you, like, why now? Why don't you just put this off? Why not wait a couple weeks or a couple of years? And they're going to tell you why they need to start today. And then you're going to ask, right, after all this perspective handling, and if you're being genuine, this is so powerful. You're going to say, so what's the move you need to make right now to put yourself in that best position to shift your mindset and actually start winning? Boom. Boom, close. Okay, so I need to think about it. Again, it comes up. But now this is the fear side of it, right? So, okay, cool. No worries. I understand it's a big decision. What's your time frame of getting back to me today or tomorrow? Just so I can see if I'm available. Booking a time, right? Make them feel like they're about to get off the call. And so then, cool. Just real quick, between me and you, what's really holding you back from moving forward? And then they're going to tell you. Okay, totally. I totally understand. So walk me through what that looks like. Because you're not going to go home, sit in the rocking chair and say, should I do Marco's coaching, stare up at the clouds and wonder? You're just not going to do that. And what you are going to do is you're going to jump in your car and go to work. You're going to deal with all these emergencies that pop up while you're away. Try to play catch up. And 3, 4, 5 days later, you're going to completely forget about all this. But what you will not forget is that you're going to be in that pain point. And how you wish you had your goal that you're talking about. You're going to go, oh, fuck. And just there, you will have made the decision, and you're going to keep living your life until it gets painful enough to jump on another call and go through this all over again. So, with all that being said, bro, let's just make it now. Because the reality is that it's not going to take time to make a decision. It takes information. So, what are the main things that you are thinking about? And then all these other strips, right, is handling fear. Talking about if nothing changes, nothing's going to change. It's never the right time. It's the when-then fallacy. You can say, right, is somewhere in here. I was listening to a podcast with Alex Hermosi, and he said that the line of reasoning was called the when-then fallacy. And the fallacy works like this. When I do X, then I'll have Y. But it's not like that, right? It's not when I get better, I'm going to go to the hospital. It's not I'll invest in a coach, or I'll invest in a coach when I have a six-pack. That's not how that works. So if you allow this fallacy to control your decisions, you're going to stay stuck. And if you drop that perspective hard enough, then you can ask, so now what would you like to do from here? And it will work. Dope. All right, well, all these are different perspective shifts. All of these are mindset reframes and just a different way of being able to really show that you are a genuine person, that you are real, that you're able to handle these objections. So go crush it, go collect high ticket, share all your wins with us, and make sure that you ask us at all if you ever need a specific review for anything. And I will see you soon.